Guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Biden is not going to be replaced. I continue to see speculation about his bad debate performance, what that means for the Democratic Party, and his chances of winning. But regardless, we are ignoring some key principles about the political process, especially some people who are very new and have just decided to now tune in on not only the election, but the political cycle since 2015. The thing you need to understand is people are selfish, and that includes when they are in political parties as well as political positions. So, what is going on? Is Biden going to be replaced? Here is the tricky part. Biden is polling better than any other Democratic candidate, and that's it. If you thought his mental decline was bad now, you have to understand that his mental decline has been bad since he's been going through the primary process, and Democrats have still run him. There has been no secret. Anyone who has been paying attention at all, even a little bit, has understood how bad his mental capabilities have been for at least the past 2 years. Obviously, they are getting worse, but that doesn't mean that he has been incapacitated just recently. It's been like this for a while. So Democrats already knew that the strategy going in was that they were going to have to run Biden. So, lesson one, let me preface with the fact that people are talking about replacing Biden. A lot of this is astroturfed. The fact that CNN and all these people after debate were essentially talking about how Biden needs to go, a lot of that was to filter out who is actually committed. In those media cycles and those media hype cycle times, a lot of that is strategically placed to figure out who your enemies might be and who the weakest links are. Certainly, some people popped up and said, hey, Biden is not our guy. But just imagine the political bet that you're playing, because the fact is, if Biden is your guy and he is going to run and they do push him, anyone who dissented against that is now anathema to the Democratic Party and can't be trusted. So situations like this, although you, the voter, may think, wow, the Democratic Party is in complete chaos. That chaos creates good ways to figure out who's in it and who's not. And that's exactly what's been happening now. Now, we can use that same logic to also figure out, why have people been so risk averse when it comes to challenging Biden? Because there is an inner circle surrounding Biden. It starts with the Obamas. It starts with his wife, Jill Biden. It starts with Kamala. All these people who lose power if Biden goes away. You have to understand that whoever's pulling the strings doesn't want an alternative, because any alternative will have different puppeteers. Now, yes, you could argue that maybe those puppeteers in general are the same group of people, but that is not always the case. For example, Representative Clyburn out of South Carolina is one of the reasons that Joe Biden won the primary in 2020. If he had not endorsed Biden, Biden wouldn't have sailed through the primary with a lot of the black vote. And so now Clyburn is owed a lot of favors and has a lot of influence within the Biden administration. That goes for Elizabeth Warren as well. So Clyburn in the House and Elizabeth Warren in the Senate have every incentive to not give up Biden's current position. Why would they? Why would they? Because they currently, whether Biden's effective or not, they're running the show. If someone new comes in, like a Gavin Newsom, like a Governor Whitmer, like even a Michelle Obama, they lose that political clout. Every person who comes into the presidency brings their own donors, their own connections. Yes, there's going to be some overlap, but it is not complete and total overlap. These are different people. So the fact that Biden is still being ran tells me that they are going to see this through till the end. Now, if they were to replace him, after the debate would have been the time. And we've already tested the waters. We've already seen the calls. We've already seen the people who have come out saying needs to be replaced. But even as of today, the governors of Democratic-run states have decided that they are going to go full in on Biden. There is no better choice. People are horrified of a Kamala Harris presidency. So here's what I would do if I was a Democratic operative, is I would run Biden and just keep him out of the view of the public. Try to keep him away from speaking unless he has been fed an adamant amount of whatever they need to feed him to hype him up. and get his sleeping schedule correct so that, like the day after the debate, when his speaking was hyped up and on point, that's the Biden that everyone can see. And then I would just simply cancel the last debate in September. Maybe a war happens. Maybe there's another disease going around. Maybe there's something else, an earthquake, and they say, hey, guys, sorry, we're not going to do the debate. You don't have to do presidential debates. If you do it from Zoom. Just like we did when we were doing the presidential debates in 2020, keep Biden in the basement. That's what I would do. And then after he wins, because most likely he has the best chance of winning of any Democratic candidate, then you can replace him. Once you win, he can step down. Kamala can come to power, or whoever they so choose if Kamala stays as running candidate. And then they get to pick another vice president, which could be somebody that they want to usher in the next 4 years. Now, even though they don't want a Kamala, she can be easily controlled, and they'd probably rather take her in power for 4 years and tell her what to do than have to run her through the actual democratic process in which she would perform very poorly. They don't have omnipotent power. The people who are running the show have limitations, and they've cornered themselves because the best candidate they have is Joe Biden. Now, the other third thing to remember is the self-interest of anyone who would take over Joe Biden's candidacy. Trump is at an all-time high. His popularity continues to soar, and he is now a mainstream, popular, iconic candidate. He's going on podcasts that we would have never imagined him going on 4 years ago. He's becoming a pop cultural icon again. He's becoming cool, casual, while Biden looks weak. Whoever is going to run against Trump has a chance of losing. Even, yes, someone like Michelle Obama, because the numbers are so poor and the people defecting from the Democratic Party are so high and the enthusiasm is so low that even if Michelle Obama, for example, were to pop in right now, she's got to recreate all that momentum. Biden shouldn't have run at all if they knew his cognitive decline was going to be this bad, because it would have given another candidate a chance to warm up and build momentum. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to stop Biden from running. You're going to kill any momentum, what little momentum he does have, throw the voter base into a disarray. And your only tactic is to strike as much fear as possible into them that they're going to back whoever is at the ticket, which is what they're kind of doing already for Biden. It doesn't make logical sense. It doesn't make strategic sense. Now, if they do replace Biden, they have to keep in mind the fact that they're going to have to somehow get rid of Kamala. And if they can't get rid of Kamala Harris, which is also going to throw their voter base into disarray, then who are they left with? There's no smooth transition. And Kamala knows that, by the way. Kamala's not going to be cheated. She doesn't want to step down, and she's already in power. How are you going to go to a Kamala Harris and say, hey, Kamala Harris, if you don't do this, then we're going to do X, Y, and Z? She's the vice president. Here's the thing about being a puppeteer and trying to control the puppet. When you get to puppet to a certain place, at some point, those strings aren't as strongly attached anymore. The puppet can take a life of its own. And that's where it becomes a very tough relationship. So you have to understand the tough dynamics of what's actually going on in the Democratic Party right now. It's very similar to Donald Trump coming on stage in 2015 and 2016, in which the whole Republican Party was in complete disarray because they had no idea how to respond. The Democratic Party, although a different scenario, is in a very similar situation to where they have no clue how they're going to respond. The way the DNC rules work is that those delegates are dedicated to Biden. And unless he resigns and gives them up, those delegates are stuck. So it's not going to be as simple as him dropping out and then people having a free-for-all. They may want Biden to continue to run through every primary so he has every delegate possible, and then he can choose his successor. Maybe that's part of the plan. And he does that at the DNC. But the DNC is in August. That gives you September and October. And in some states, voting can start, especially even overseas, as early as the end of September. Guys, there are no good options for the Democratic Party. And that is why most likely, as much as we hate to think about it, the Democrats are probably going to run Biden. It is their best option. and it might be their only option. But the beautiful irony is they put themselves in this situation. And so if I was a Republican strategist, I would just dig in harder and harder, continue to do what Trump's doing. And if Biden does step down, you need to ensure that you are going hard on a media blitz about the incompetence of the Democratic Party. But for now, Republicans should not only be focusing on the presidency, but they need to focus on the House and the Senate. We'll see what everybody does.